Hi, everybody. I am Henry Riggs. I am an improviser in town, which is kind of a lot like a professional wrestler, but me. Um, so I guess to kick it off, can I get a suggestion for what my talk should be about? What is it? Sex? Thank you, frustrated woman in the fifth row. Um, Sex. Now, wouldn't it be amazing if I had 20 slides just ready to go, loosely based on sex? Be pretty impressive. That's not what I have. I have a highly prepared talk, which is just completely opposite of what I am used to doing, so I'm terrified because this is all written down. So here we go. Hey, Anthony, go. That's me. I'm Henry Riggs, comedian in town. And I was born and raised in Charleston. You might be able to tell by now that I don't have the accent, and I blame television. But I also, when I was a kid, I just wanted to be Jim Carrey. I just idolized him. I emulated him. It was obsessive. It was almost to a bad degree. So I knew from a very early age that I wanted to do comedy. So I moved to Chicago, Illinois as quickly as I could after college. I studied at Second City, Annoyance, Improv Olympic, did a bunch of shows, hung out there for 6 years, got some of the best training that I could have ever imagined. And then it was about 2014, my then girlfriend, now wife, and I were sort of kind of debating what the next moves were. You know, did we go to New York or LA like our friends and do the film and television thing? Did we stay in Chicago or do secret option C? Because we kind of wanted to start a family and do that kind of thing, so we just didn't know. And at the time, I was feeling the siren song of Charleston calling me back. It had just recently been voted the #1 city by that magazine that none of us read. And there seemed to be some buzz, and it was growing, and so I made the pitch that I was like, hey, what if we moved to like a smaller market and tried to grow a comedy brand in Charleston? And so we did that. So we moved to Charleston to pursue comedy, which is hilarious to say out loud. What were we thinking? But we've been in Charleston for 5 years now, and we've been very fortunate. We've created a bunch of shows. We've done platforms for young artists to sort of experiment with comedy and build it up a little bit. We've been able to work in film and television. We've written on stuff. We got to tour Nameless Numberhead to a bunch of festivals and colleges and actually make a little money doing comedy. So it's been awesome so far. But would you imagine that there have been challenges? It's been pretty damn challenging. I think, Charleston has a decent comedy scene. It's continually growing, as the papers would have you know. But the fact that we have a comedy scene at all is pretty awesome. But there's just something that keeps us from being like a cool, buzzworthy comedy town. There's just something that we can't make the push. And I have some theories. I have some theories about this. But it's not just the comedy world, right? It's sort of like the Charleston at large and the artistic world, that I feel like artists in Charleston feel like there's challenges with growth here and frustrations being an artist in this city in particular. And it's because I don't feel like there's anything risked in Charleston. There's not an appetite for risky artwork. People don't want it. So new works, there's not a ton of new works. Even when people create new and exciting stuff, there doesn't feel like there's an appetite for it. So I don't know if you noticed, Charleston really likes the same old shit all the time. And many of the conversations I have with creatives is like, what does Charleston want? What do they like? What do they care about? Everybody's just, what do we want? What are we doing? What are we doing here? What do we care about? So it's like exponential growth met with development and complete lack of risk. And so I think we're faced with the choice of what do we want to be when we grow up into a big city, a big boy city, because, we see ourselves as this sleepy southern town, and that's not what we are anymore. So I think we're experiencing a bit of an identity crisis nationally, but also sort of like more immediately Charleston. Charleston is the awkward kid who's always been overlooked as a child and then grows up into a hunky teenager and doesn't know what to do with itself. We also have a horribly racist past that keeps reminding us that we're a super racist town. Not you, Neville, but think about this for a second. We have such a weird relationship with culture. The primary historical identity is slavery. We are drunk all the time. They are serving $16 cheeseburgers in the lowest income neighborhoods in town. Public art isn't a thing here. There's a whole lifestyle brand based on a reality show that films here. And it's just a strange place culturally. So I feel like there's no counterculture that really takes a hold in a meaningful, impactful way. It exists, but it's just slippery. It's hard. It doesn't have a place. All the places have closed down. So it feels like good, interesting culture is being priced out of the city, quite frankly, and it's growing into a playground for the rich. Affordability sucks. All the money that tourism makes goes back into the marketing budget to market to rich people, to keep rich people marketing Charleston to rich people. So what does Charleston want? What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? I don't know what we want. Mari and I try our best to produce shows that we want to see, that were the shows that inspired us in Chicago and that we think should exist in Charleston. But for whatever reason, we just can't seem to get it to stick. So it's funny that we want our produce local, but when it comes to art and culture and people, we don't give a fuck. I don't know. Calling you out. Who cares? I think we don't value it because we don't like risk. We don't want to take risks. There's no appetite for risk. There's no room to fail and grow. As a comedian, you have to bomb all the time. You have to fail so much to figure out how it works. And Charleston doesn't want to see that process. Now, I've been able to see a ton of cool shit in Charleston, because the similar way that I was inspired in Chicago, I was inspired in Charleston. And, Theater 99 was my introduction to comedy. Bands used to busk on the street all the time. We had record stores and vintage shops and local stores. What a concept. And so it's this thing maybe I'm getting old, and that's just what you say when you get old is it used to be better. But it seems like something's missing in the conversation about growth. Is that the arts are not growing with a city that is growing, and it's just kind of maintaining what already exists and goes, hey, we've got Spoleto. Hey, there's a theater over there, did you see? So I feel like if we want to build the Charleston that we want to help it through the identity crisis, we have to keep a voice to the slightly strange, experimental kind of shit that's going on in Charleston that keeps it cool. Carry the torch to the next generation, creating good art, but we have to build it and we have to support it. Thank you, guys.